YouTube, what's going on, man? Today I'm going to be talking about the Uvalde shooting. If you haven't heard about this yet, then you are blessed beyond measure. Unfortunately, a tragedy occurred where about 21 people died in a Texas school shooting a couple days ago. Prayers and thoughts to all of the relatives and stuff that were affected. My heart really does go out to them. It really is a heavy burden. But I kind of want to transition now to what topics I'm going to be talking about today. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But just prayers and thoughts to all of those affected and the relatives of the children and everything that's going on down in Texas. Just it's horrible. But yeah. So now transitioning into what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about security in schools and in and around the schools. What can be done possibly to maybe stop this in the future. I want to talk about the failure of the police to do their job, and then I want to talk about we'll see where we get, but mental health and society, and maybe some gun control stuff. So we'll see. But first topic, the security in and around school buildings. So there's just so much to unpack here. So many things that kind of went into this shooting that could have just been prevented. Simple things like the doors to the school were unlocked. No one confronted him as he walked into the building. There was no armed guards, no one around basically to stop him from even walking in. He apparently walked around for I think it was the reported time was like 12 minutes before he even interacted with other people, like walking in and basically starting his killing. And I was just to kind of link these two stories together. I just got back from a trip about a week ago in Utah. I went on a week-long trip, and I was kind of telling the people who I went with, I didn't know TSA basically didn't exist before 2001, before 9/11. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Since there was a massive terrorist attack on a plane, we reacted with TSA. And basically all this stuff that we do to protect our entry into an airplane to make sure the airplane's safe, we do this with banks as well. We do this for federal buildings, etc., etc., etc. All these other stuff that we protect with these policies and stuff like that. Why do we not want to do this with schools? All we do is call for more gun control legislation and stuff like that, but we don't actually propose any useful solutions to stop this stuff. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I cannot reason to say that we do all this stuff for TSA and airplanes and banks and all these other stuff. I'm repeating myself, but it doesn't make sense. But we can't do this for schools, like armed guards on campus, or, any security measure that could possibly prevent this. Unlocked doors for this guy to just walk in is insane. And to me, I just cannot wrap my head around how we don't have any measures in place to basically provide security for these children. But that was kind of what I wanted to mention in terms of the security in school. Now kind of moving into like the meat of this video, I think is what's going to be, is just the utter failure of the police department in every way, shape, and form is abominable. It is horrific. Apparently it was reported that almost up to an hour had passed that the shooter was in the building and the police knew about it, and the police were outside before they even made entry into the building. That right there is like it's ridiculous. The regional coordinator, I forget his name, Victor Escalon, reported that basically they were scared to go in because they might be shot. And now it's really easy for me and you and everyone else to point fingers at them and say, you guys are cowards because you didn't go in there. And now, obviously, I'd be shaking in my boots if I was the first cop there and I didn't see anyone around and I knew I had to go in there and storm the building and basically shoot this guy and stop him. I would be terrified. But guess what? I'm not in that situation. That's not my responsibility. You, as an officer, signed up and pledged to protect and serve the people of wherever you're serving. So for you to stand there and wait outside, now I don't know if they were following policy or orders or what. I'm pretty sure that they're not, because I heard that it was a recent, like a pretty, there was a change made within training that they don't wait for SWAT anymore. That they don't have the time to wait, they have to go in and stop the shooter, or else kids like 19 children are going to be killed. So the fact that they waited outside for almost an hour before even going in is preposterous. It's awful. And now you have news are rolling out, and the police leaders are basically being like, oh, well, yeah, there were decisions made that were bad. Well, yeah, obviously, you guys probably cost several children's lives being lost that could have been saved. Instead, y'all are waiting outside being cowards. And like I said, I back the police all the time. I support the police. My uncle's best friend is a sheriff in our local town, and he's been in several shooting instances, and I've seen how he acts, and I compared with this, it's it's terrible. Compared with how the Texas Police Department reacted is awful. Where else do I want to go with this? Yes, I have an article here from Not the Bee, which is like, if you guys know the Babylon Bee, it is their non-satirical article portrayer. But this federal agent grabbed his barber shotgun when his wife texted help from the Uvalde school, then got his lady, their daughter, and dozens of school students to safety. When your wife texts help, it activates something in a man's brain that nothing can stop. You dudes will know what I'm talking about. If your wife and kids are in danger, you will stop that danger, period. Case in point, this federal agent who literally jumped out of his barber's chair and stormed the school to save his wife and daughter. Basically, this man had just sat down for a haircut when he received a horrifying message from his wife, a 4th grade teacher at the Uvalde Elementary School. There's an active shooter, she wrote. Help, she sent before sending a chilling I love you. He immediately leapt out of his seat, grabbed the barber shotgun, and sped off towards the school. This should have been the reaction from the police. Right there. It should have been immediate action. Formalize a plan, figure out what your point of attack is going to be, and then storm the building. We just don't, even, just like common sense tells you, you don't have the time to wait around where these kids' lives are in danger. And the writer here says, the other officers at the scene need to take note. Exactly. Alvarado is a U.S. Customs and Border Protection agent. The school was not in his jurisdiction. He didn't take time to get armor, squads of men, or fancy weapons. He grabbed his barber's shotguns, which is the most awesome in Texas thing ever, and went to work. His daughter, who was a 2nd grader, was locked inside a bathroom while his wife was hiding under the desks with her students. When Alvarado got there, the officers were milling about trying to figure out how doors work or something like that. So Alvarado came up with a plan to get the other students out while they took point on taking down the shooter. Why does it take him coming from a barber shop with a shotgun to stir up and get the police going? It should not have taken that. It's insane. 2 officers with guns drawn provided cover, while 2 others guided dozens of hysterical children and teachers out to the sidewalk. And I skipped this part on accident, but he said he entered the wing of the school where he knew his daughter was located, and as he searched for her, began clearing all the classes in her wing. So he just wasn't looking out for his daughter, he was clearing everything else within the region that he knew his daughter was in to make sure everyone else is safe. Why does it take this guy in order to stop the shooter? It doesn't make any sense. There's so many, you can read this if you want. There's still so many details swirling about what happened. We know so little about the chain of events. But as we wait for the truth to come out, I'm glad Amanda Alvarado was there. Like, I am too. Thankful that people like this exist. And I'm thankful for the police. But to watch the officers who committed to doing this, failure to do their job that probably cost children's lives, is horrible to watch. And like I said, I can say that with ease. I'm not in that position. And I am thankful for all the police that exist today that serve. But again, when you see stuff like this, you have to criticize it. Okay. Moving into like the gun control and media side of this. I know it's kind of a hard switch, but just bear with me. I found this article kind of on Instagram by Amir X Odom. I found it through Brett Cooper, who's part of the Daily Wire. You can go look her up if you want. But anyway, here's a different perspective on school shootings. If you've ever wondered why some people don't react immediately to school shootings, then this is for you. Rest in peace. Let this be a kind reminder that it's possible to be empathetic toward a situation, while also trying to understand the many factors that played into it. What determines a life lost to you? Nearly 400 kids under the age of 16 have been shot in Chicago within the past year and a half. However, the media insists that the lives lost in school shootings matter most. Why? Because you can't relate to Chicago. You don't live there, so why would you care? Your kids do go to an elementary school, though. You can relate to that. The media is determining what's worth showing you and pulling at your heartstrings. This is how they think. It's a game, a very sick one, where the board is innocent children and the pawns are emotionally driven citizens. What's the end goal? Well, look at how fast they go from mourning to making legislation. And pause. I'm going to stop reading this for a second. But if you guys know Beto O'Rourke, who is running for, I think, senator in Texas right now, he walked up to Greg, is that his name, Greg Abbott? I think, the governor for Texas, who was giving a press conference. And basically, he walks up in the middle of the press conference, like right before it starts or something, and he basically says, this is on you and all the other legislators who haven't, basically more children's lives are going to be lost because of you. And then they call him a sick son of a bee. He looked like an a-hole during the whole thing. And I just read an article that propped him up as a hero. He's standing on the graves of these children to prop up his political gun control legislation ideology. It's ridiculous. Okay. Going back into reading the article. Here's a different perspective, guns. We defend our president with guns. We defend our celebrities. We defend our banks, courts, jewelry stores, sporting events, music festivals. But yet we defend our children with a sign that reads, this is a gun-free zone. And then we dial 911 to call someone with a gun to come help us, which on average takes like 8 or 9 minutes, I want to say. And the Hodge twins have a cool shirt on this. Basically, they say 9mm, 50 cal, all the other caliber of guns are all going to be faster than calling 911. If you're getting robbed, you're not going to call 911 first. Well, you might, I don't know. But you're going to go to your gun safe if you have one. Get that out and try to defend yourself before you call 911. Stereotypically, if you're the male, you're going to go look for the gun while you might get your wife to call 911. That makes the most sense. Do you really care, or do you only care because you're being told to? Our hearts are hurting. This is American. Enough is enough. I've seen these two way too much on my social media pages to even... it's annoying. Because it's, again, vague and not useful whatsoever. You're only hurting because the media manipulated you to feel hurt and angry about this particular situation. Again, he says, nearly 400 children have been shot in one city within the past year and a half, and now there's been crickets about it. But now all of a sudden you care about children being shot? Interesting. I'm not denying that what has happened is sad or tragic. What I am saying is that you're being used to boost ad revenue for corporations and donations to corrupt nonprofits. Do not allow yourself to be manipulated by current events. And basically, to summarize this whole thing, he's saying that the media, which again is super corrupt, is just getting their pot and stirring it and using your emotions to prop up their political agenda. It's awful. And of course, I see all these people who are advocating for gun control and other stuff that they think might solve the problem. But again, it's all vague and meaningless. They're not proposing any actual solutions as to what might help. Gun control just ignores the fact that it completely ignores the fact that criminals do not care about laws whatsoever. The shooter obtained all of his weapons that he used legally. He had a background check. He had whatever he needed to do, he got it legally. And having more of that wouldn't have mattered. He broke so many laws by doing what he did. Murder is illegal. He doesn't care about that. The fact is that none of this matters. We have to find an actual solution to stop this stuff. Like I said, the mental failure of the society to help this kid was astounding. His friends, basically, one of his friends that he regularly saw, had seen him with cuts on his face that were self-inflicted, knew that they were self-inflicted because the guy admitted it, the shooter admitted it, and then the friend failed to reach out and provide any sort of help with him. And all of these red flags that occurred leading up to basically the shooting is just a reflection of the failure of support from community and the society. And I think Ben Shapiro really summed it up well. If you want to go look at his recent commentary on stuff like that, probably a lot better than mine, but either way. So that's kind of my whole opinion. I don't want to go too much longer than this. I have a lot more I can say, but I'll leave you guys with that. Again, prayers over this horrible tragedy that occurred. But like Amir said, do not let your emotions be influenced by the media. Don't let them weaponize them. Just sit on it yourself. Think about what can be done, and see what other people think. All right. All right, guys. Thanks again. Typical YouTube rule crap. Like, subscribe, comment. It feels wrong saying that over this on this somber note, but again, prayers to all who were affected. With that being said, guys, y'all have a good one. I hope we never have to go over this again, but odds are that's not gonna happen. Peace. See you guys.